The custody lawsuit arrived on a Tuesday morning, 3 weeks after Noel's birth. Amara was still healing from her C-section, moving carefully around Jaehyun's penthouse while he hovered anxiously, convinced she was pushing herself too hard. They'd fallen into a fragile routine: midnight feedings, diaper changes, stolen moments of sleep, and the constant underlying tension of knowing the other shoe would eventually drop. That shoe came in the form of a 60-page legal document. Jaehyun read it aloud, his voice getting progressively hollower. His family wasn't just requesting custody. They were systematically destroying his character. The petition claimed he'd abandoned his corporate duties for a foreign mistress. That he'd shown severe impairment of judgment by choosing a casual relationship over his fiancée and family obligations. That his sudden obsession with the child proved he was experiencing a mental health crisis requiring intervention. But the part that made Amara's blood run cold was paragraph 17. The petitioners submit that Miss Amara Okonkwo deliberately entrapped Mr. Kang through pregnancy, traveled to Korea with the express purpose of disrupting his engagement, and has demonstrated a pattern of manipulative behavior designed to access the Kang family fortune. Furthermore, Miss Okonkwo's visa status is temporary, and she lacks the financial resources and support network to adequately care for the minor child in Korea. The child's best interests would be served by placement with the Kang family, who can provide stability, resources, and appropriate cultural education. Amara felt like she'd been slapped. They're calling me a gold digger. And saying I'm an unfit mother because I'm not Korean. It's a legal strategy, Jaehyun said, but his hands were shaking. They're trying to make you look bad so they can take Noel. But we won't let them. How exactly are we going to stop them? Your family has unlimited money and the best lawyers in Korea. I'm a foreigner on a tourist visa with a 3-week-old baby. We'll get our own lawyer. A good one. With what money? You said your accounts are frozen. Jaehyun was quiet. The trust fund his grandmother had left him was substantial, but accessing it meant liquid assets, and most of it was tied up in investments that would take time to liquidate. Time they might not have. I have some available funds, he finally said. Enough for a retainer. And I can sell some stocks. And then what? This could drag on for months. Years. Your family will bleed us dry in legal fees. Then we fight anyway, Jaehyun said fiercely. They're not taking our daughter. But even as he said it, Amara saw the fear in his eyes. He knew exactly what his family was capable of. The Kangs didn't fight fair. They fought to win, and they always won. The lawyer they hired was a woman named Park Sejin, 50-ish, sharp-eyed, with a reputation for taking on powerful families and occasionally winning. She met them at her office in Gangnam, a modest space that felt deliberately unglamorous compared to the glass towers where corporate law firms operated. I'll be honest with you, she said after reviewing the petition. This is going to be ugly. The Kang family is one of the most powerful in Korea. They have connections in the judiciary, the media, everywhere that matters. And they're arguing that you, Mr. Kang, are experiencing a breakdown, while Miss Okonkwo is an opportunist. That's a compelling narrative. It's also completely false, Jaehyun said. Truth and legal strategy are different things. They don't need to prove you're unfit. They just need to create enough doubt. She looked at Amara. And I'm sorry to say this, but your immigration status is a real problem. You're here on a 90-day tourist visa that expires in 2 months. If you overstay, you're here illegally, which will absolutely be used against you. Amara's stomach dropped. She'd been so focused on recovering from childbirth and learning to be a mother that she hadn't thought about her visa. What are my options? You could apply for an extension based on medical grounds, but that only buys you 3 more months maximum. You could apply for a dependent visa as the mother of a Korean citizen child, but that process takes 6 to 8 months and isn't guaranteed. Or, she paused. You could marry Mr. Kang. A spousal visa would give you immediate legal residency. The silence in the office was deafening. Marriage, Amara repeated. It's the fastest path to legal stability. And it would strengthen your case significantly. The courts prefer keeping families together, and married parents have a presumption of custody over extended family members. So we should get married to win a custody battle, Amara said flatly. I'm saying it would help your case. What you do is your decision. After they left the lawyer's office, Amara and Jaehyun sat in his car in the parking garage, neither speaking. Noel slept peacefully in her car seat between them, oblivious to the legal warfare being waged over her existence. We don't have to get married, Jaehyun finally said. There are other options. What options? Let your family take Noel. Watch me get deported while you fight for custody alone. Those aren't options. Those are nightmares. So is marrying someone because a lawyer told you to? Amara laughed bitterly. Is it? Because a month ago, you were about to marry someone for corporate strategy. At least this marriage would be for our daughter. Jaehyun flinched. That was different. How? You were marrying Mina to please your family and merge companies. This would be marrying me to keep our family together. If anything, this makes more sense. Amara. I'm not saying I want to marry you, she cut him off. I'm saying I'll do whatever it takes to keep Noel. If that means a paper marriage, fine. We get married, get me legal status, fight the custody battle, and then we can figure out what happens next. A paper marriage, Jaehyun repeated, something wounded in his voice. What did you expect? A grand love confession? Jaehyun, we barely know each other. We had 2 weeks in Lagos and 3 weeks of crisis mode in Seoul. That's not a foundation for marriage. My parents were arranged. They learned to love each other. Your parents also just sued you for custody of your daughter. Forgive me if I don't want to model our relationship after theirs. He couldn't argue with that. They drove home in tense silence. That night, after Noel was asleep, they sat on opposite ends of the couch like they were negotiating a business deal. Which, Amara supposed, they were. If we do this, she said, we need rules. Boundaries. Okay. This is a legal arrangement. We're co-parents who happen to be married on paper. We keep separate bedrooms. We don't pretend this is something it's not. Agreed. And when the custody situation is resolved, when I have permanent residency and Noel is safe, we revisit everything. If we want to stay married, fine. If we want to divorce, also fine. No guilt, no drama. Okay. Jaehyun's voice was quiet. Is that what you want? An exit clause? I want honesty. And the honest truth is I don't know if I can trust you long term. You've been great these past few weeks, but that doesn't erase what you did. You abandoned me when I needed you most. You only came back because I showed up and forced your hand. I know. And I'll spend the rest of my life making up for that if you let me. That's exactly my point. I don't want you staying with me out of guilt. I don't want to be your penance. If we're going to make this work, even as co-parents, it has to be because you actually want to be here. Not because you're trying to prove you're not your parents. Jaehyun was quiet for a long time. What if I want both? To prove I'm better than them and to be with you? Then prove it. Not with words. With time. With consistency. With showing up every single day even when it's hard. I can do that. We'll see. They got married on a Thursday afternoon at the Seoul district office, a 15-minute civil ceremony with 2 strangers pulled from the waiting room as witnesses. Amara wore a simple blue dress she could still fit over her postpartum body. Jaehyun wore slacks and a button-down, his first non-suit outfit she'd ever seen him wear. Noel slept through the entire ceremony in her carrier. There were no flowers. No music. No family. Just 2 people making a legal commitment to protect their daughter, signing papers while a board clerk looked on. You may kiss, the clerk said without enthusiasm. Jaehyun looked at Amara. She looked back. They'd kissed before, of course. Passionate kisses in Lagos that had led to Noel's existence. But this kiss felt different. Obligatory. Performative. We don't have to, he started. Amara leaned in and kissed him quickly, barely a brush of lips, over before it began. The clerk stamped their papers. Congratulations, you're married. They walked out of the building into cold January air, legally bound to each other, feeling more distant than ever. We should celebrate, Jaehyun said half-heartedly. Dinner somewhere nice. Noel needs to eat in 2 hours and I'm exhausted. Let's just go home. Home. The word felt strange. His penthouse wasn't home. Her apartment in Lagos was home. But she couldn't go back there now. This was her life now. Wife to a man she barely trusted. Mother to a daughter she'd die for. Trapped in a country where half the internet hated her. If you're following Amara and Jaehyun's journey, drop a comment with your thought. Do you think they made the right choice? Could you marry someone to save your child? The legal battle escalated quickly. Jaehyun's family responded to their marriage by amending their custody petition, now claiming the rushed wedding proved Amara's manipulation and Jaehyun's impaired judgment. Photos of their unglamorous civil ceremony were somehow leaked to the media, contrasted with pictures of Jaehyun's elaborate proposal to Mina. The headlines wrote themselves, from fairy tale to disaster, the fall of Korea's golden CEO. But the marriage had achieved one crucial thing: Amara now had legal residency. She couldn't be deported, and any attempt to remove Noel from Korea would be significantly harder. It was a small victory in what was shaping up to be total war. The preliminary custody hearing was scheduled for late February. Park Soo-jin prepared them extensively, running mock cross-examinations that left Amara in tears and Jaehyun white-knuckled with rage. They're going to ask about Lagos, Soo-jin warned. They'll try to paint your relationship as a brief affair. Amara, they'll ask why you didn't tell Jaehyun about the pregnancy immediately. They'll ask about the money he sent you and whether you used it. They'll ask why you came to Seoul. I came because I wanted him to know his daughter, Amara said. They'll say you came to trap him into marriage. To access his money. To ruin his engagement out of jealousy. You need to be prepared for them to make you the villain. I'm used to it. The internet already does. The internet isn't under oath. This is different. You'll be in a courtroom with his entire family watching, and they'll have lawyers whose entire job is to break you down. Amara looked at Noel, sleeping peacefully in her arms. Her daughter was 6 weeks old now, starting to focus her eyes, making small cooing sounds that might someday be words. She had Jaehyun's serious expression and Amara's stubborn chin. She was perfect. And the idea that someone might take her away made Amara feel capable of violence. Let them try, she said quietly. But Soo-jin was right. The actual hearing was brutal. The courtroom was smaller than Amara expected, more like a conference room than the dramatic spaces she'd seen in movies. Jaehyun's mother sat in the front row with his brother and a phalanx of lawyers. She didn't look at Amara once. Mina was there too, seated separately, beautiful and composed in a way that made Amara feel like a mess. The Kang family lawyer was a man named Cho, 50-ish, with the kind of calm authority that came from winning every case. He started gently. Miss Okonkwo. Mrs. Kang, Amara corrected. A flicker of irritation crossed his face. Mrs. Kang. You met Jaehyun Kang in Lagos in July of last year, is that correct? Yes. And your relationship lasted approximately 2 weeks. We were together for 2 weeks. Our relationship didn't end. He ended contact. During those 2 weeks, were you aware of Mr. Kang's engagement to Miss Kim Mina? Amara's blood went cold. What? I asked if you were aware that Mr. Kang was engaged at the time of your relationship. She looked at Jaehyun. His face had gone white. There was no engagement in July, he said. Mina and I weren't engaged until November. But you were in a committed relationship, were you not? Cho pulled out papers. According to Miss Kim's testimony, you and she had been dating for 3 years and had discussed marriage extensively before your trip to Lagos. Would you say that's accurate? Jaehyun's silence was answer enough. Amara felt the floor drop out from under her. He'd had a girlfriend. A serious girlfriend who thought they were heading toward marriage. And he'd never mentioned her. Not once. Mr. Kang, the judge prompted. Mina and I were dating, Jaehyun admitted, his voice strained. But we weren't engaged. And we'd been having problems. Taking a break. A break that she was unaware of. Cho pressed. According to Miss Kim, she had no idea you were seeing anyone else in Lagos. She believed you were faithful. This isn't relevant to Noel's custody, Soo-jin objected. It's absolutely relevant, Cho countered. It speaks to Mr. Kang's judgment and Miss Okonkwo's knowledge of his circumstances. If she knew he was in a relationship, It suggests a pattern of pursuing unavailable men for financial gain. I didn't know. Amara burst out. He never told me about her. And yet you got pregnant after a 2-week affair with a wealthy man you barely knew. Some might call that convenient. I call it human error. We used protection, it failed. These things happen. Do they? Or did you deliberately try to get pregnant to secure a connection to a wealthy family? That's ridiculous. Is it? You waited 6 months to tell Mr. Kang. You took his money. And then, when you learned about his engagement, you traveled to Korea deliberately timed to disrupt his proposal. That doesn't suggest someone genuinely concerned about co-parenting. That suggests revenge. Amara was shaking. I came to Seoul to give him a chance to be a father. My water broke. I didn't plan that. But you did plan to show up at his proposal. You knew the time and location. You could have contacted him privately days earlier. Instead, you created a public spectacle. I tried to contact him privately. He blocked my number. After you took his money. Money he sent in good faith to help with the pregnancy. Money he sent to make me disappear. The judge banged his gavel. Order. Mr. Cho, move on. But the damage was done. Amara could see it in the judge's face, in the way Jaehyun's mother smiled coldly. They'd successfully painted her as a manipulative outsider who'd trapped their son and destroyed his life. The hearing lasted 3 hours. By the end, Amara was exhausted, humiliated, and terrified. The judge took the matter under advisement, which meant they'd have to wait weeks for a decision. Outside the courtroom, Jaehyun tried to touch her arm. She jerked away. Don't. Amara, I'm sorry. I should have told you about Mina. You think? She laughed bitterly. I asked you point blank in Lagos if you were seeing anyone. You said no. Mina and I were on a break. A break she didn't know about. You were cheating on her with me, and I had no idea. I was the other woman, Jaehyun. And now your family's lawyers get to use that to prove I'm some kind of home-wrecking gold digger. That's not what you are. It's what I look like. And in court, that's all that matters. She adjusted Noel's carrier, the baby starting to fuss. I need to go. She needs to eat. Let me drive you. I'll take a taxi. I can't look at you right now. She walked away, leaving him standing in the courthouse hallway, and if she felt his eyes following her, she refused to turn around. Back at the penthouse, Amara fed Noel and then just sat holding her, rocking slowly, trying not to cry. Everything was falling apart. The marriage was a sham. The custody case was going terribly. And Jaehyun had lied to her from the very beginning. She pulled out her phone and called her sister. How did it go? Zainab asked immediately. Terrible. They made me look like a gold digger who trapped Jaehyun on purpose. And I found out he had a girlfriend the whole time we were together in Lagos. Zainab cursed colorfully in Igbo. He didn't tell you? Not a word. And now his family's lawyers are using it to paint me as a homewrecker who deliberately got pregnant to access his money. Can you come home? Just leave Korea and come back to Lagos? And lose Noel? His family would have her in their custody within hours. No, I'm stuck. I married him to get legal residency, and now I'm legally stuck in a marriage with a man I don't trust, fighting a legal battle I might lose. What does he say? I don't care what he says. I can't believe anything he tells me. After she hung up, Amara looked down at Noel. Her daughter was 2 months old now, her eyes focusing better, her little personality starting to emerge. She had a serious expression like her father, but she smiled like Amara, with her whole face lighting up. It's just you and me, baby girl, Amara whispered. Everyone else is temporary. But I'm your mama forever. I promise. She didn't hear Jaehyun come in. Didn't realize he was standing in the doorway until he spoke. I know you don't want to hear this, he said quietly. But I need to explain. There's nothing to explain. You lied. End of story. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything. That's called lying by omission, Jaehyun. He came into the room slowly, like approaching a wounded animal. Mina and I had been together for 3 years. Our families expected us to marry. But we'd grown apart. We were going through the motions. When I went to Lagos, we'd agreed to take space and think about whether we really wanted marriage or were just doing what was expected. And you decided to think about it by sleeping with me. I met you and everything changed. You were brilliant and funny and challenging in ways Mina never was. With her, I always felt like I was playing a role. With you, I felt real. You felt real while lying to me about having a girlfriend. I know. And I'm sorry. I told myself it was a break, that technically I wasn't cheating. But that was cowardly. I should have been honest with you. Yes, you should have. And when you called me pregnant, I panicked. I knew if I chose you, I'd lose everything. My family, my company, my social standing. And I wasn't brave enough to make that choice. So I sent you money and blocked your number and tried to pretend you didn't exist. I know all this, Amara said tiredly. What's your point? My point is I've spent my whole life being a coward. Doing what was expected. Following the path laid out for me. But when I saw you at that resort, when I held Noel for the first time, something broke open in me. I realized I'd been living a half-life, and I couldn't do it anymore. So what? You want gratitude for finally choosing us after I forced your hand? No. I want you to understand that I'm choosing you now. Not because you showed up. Not because of the custody battle. But because I'm in love with you, and I have been since Lagos, and I'm too much of an idiot to have said it sooner. Amara stared at him. You're in love with me. Yes. You barely know me. I know you're fierce and brave and you flew to a foreign country alone and pregnant because you believed I deserved a chance to be a father. I know you're an incredible mother. I know you make me want to be better. And I know that every day I get to spend with you and Noel is a gift I don't deserve but I'm grateful for anyway. You think loving me fixes the lying? No. I think loving you means I have to do better. Be honest even when it's hard. Show up even when it's terrifying. And prove to you every single day that I'm worth the risk. Amara looked down at Noel, then back at Jaehyun. He looked wrecked. Vulnerable. Completely stripped of the corporate mask she'd seen him wear in court. I don't love you, she said quietly. I don't know if I can. Something in his eyes dimmed. I understand. But, she continued, I'm willing to try. Not because of the custody case. Not because we're legally married. But because Noel deserves parents who at least try to build something real. So you get a chance. One chance. You lie to me again, you hide anything. You make me feel like I can't trust you, and I'm done. We'll co-parent, but that's it. Understand? I understand. And you have to talk to Mina. Actually apologize for what you did to her. She deserves that. I will. Okay then. She stood up carefully, still sore from the C-section. I'm going to put Noel down for a nap. When I come back, we need to talk about the custody case and what happens if we lose. We're not going to lose. You don't know that. Then we'll figure it out together. After she put Noel down, Amara stood in the nursery for a long time, watching her daughter sleep. Jaehyun appeared beside her, and they stood together in silence, both watching the tiny person who'd changed everything. She has your stubbornness, Jaehyun said softly. And your terrible timing. She was 3 weeks early. She knew we needed her. To force us to be better. She shouldn't have to force us. We should just be better. Then we will be. He reached out slowly, and this time Amara didn't pull away when he took her hand. His fingers laced with hers, warm and solid. The weeks waiting for the custody decision were the longest of Amara's life. Every day felt like standing on a cliff edge, waiting to fall. She threw herself into being Noel's mother, documenting every moment, every milestone. First smile. First time sleeping 4 hours straight. First time gripping a toy. As if creating a record of perfect motherhood would somehow prove to a judge that she deserved to keep her daughter. Jaehyun kept his promise about transparency. He showed her every email from his family's lawyers, every bank statement, every detail of his dwindling finances. The frozen accounts were killing them slowly. His grandmother's inheritance was helping, but lawyer fees were astronomical, and they were burning through money faster than he'd anticipated. I might need to get a job, he said one night, the admission clearly costing him. A job? You're a CEO. Was a CEO. Now I'm just a guy with a business degree and a terrible reputation. Nobody in Korea wants to hire the man who abandoned his family for a scandal. Then we'll figure something else out. You're brilliant, Jaehyun. You'll find something. You have more faith in me than I have in myself. Someone has to. He did eventually find work, consulting for a startup run by an old university friend who didn't care about the scandal. The pay was a fraction of what he'd made at Kangtech, but it was something. Amara watched him leave for the office in regular business casual instead of bespoke suits, and felt a strange pride. He was rebuilding himself from scratch, and he wasn't complaining. Meanwhile, Amara started her own venture. She couldn't legally work on her spousal visa yet, but she could create content. She started a YouTube channel documenting her experience as a Nigerian mother in Korea, talking honestly about the racism she faced, the beauty of Afro-Korean culture, the complexity of her relationship with Jaehyun. She expected maybe a few hundred subscribers. Within 2 months, she had 50,000. Messages poured in from other black women in interracial relationships, from adoptees, from anyone who'd ever felt caught between cultures. Her honesty about the custody battle, about marrying Jaehyun for legal reasons, about not knowing if she loved him, resonated. People appreciated the rawness. "You're famous," Jaehyun said, watching her film a video about making Nigerian food for Noel when she started solids. "Not famous. Just honest. People are starving for honesty. My family hates the channel. My mother's lawyers sent a cease and desist claiming I'm violating Noel's privacy. And what did Sujin say? That as Noel's mother, you have every right to share your parenting journey as long as you're not exploiting her. The cease and desist is toothless." Amara smiled grimly. "Good. Let them be mad. I'm tired of being silent while they control the narrative." The channel also brought in money. Not a fortune, but enough that she wasn't completely financially dependent on Jaehyun. It felt good. Like rebuilding her own identity separate from being the woman who ruined the Kang proposal. In early April, Mina reached out. The message came through Instagram DM, simple and direct. "Can we talk? Not about the custody case. Just talk." As two women whose lives got destroyed by the same man. Amara showed the message to Jaehyun. "What do you think? I think she deserves to say whatever she needs to say to you. And you deserve to hear her side." They met at a quiet cafe in Hongdae, far from the wealthy neighborhoods where they might be recognized. Mina arrived looking different from the perfect fiancée at the proposal. She wore jeans and a simple sweater, minimal makeup, her hair in a casual ponytail. She looked more human. More real. "Thank you for meeting me," Mina said in careful English. "I wasn't sure you would. I wasn't sure I should. But I kept thinking about that night. How you looked standing in the snow. How your life exploded just like mine did. Different explosions. You got Jaehyun. I got humiliation and pity. I got Jaehyun's guilt and fear and a custody battle that might take my daughter. Not exactly a prize." Mina smiled slightly. "Fair point." She stirred her coffee. "I'm not here to make friends. I just wanted to tell you that I don't hate you. I wouldn't blame you if you did. I did. 4 months. I hated you so much. The black woman who stole my fiancé, destroyed my wedding, made me a laughingstock. Every headline, every pitying look from my friends, every disappointed conversation with my parents, I blamed you. And now I realize you didn't steal anything. Jaehyun was never really mine. We were performing a relationship for our families, for society, for everyone except ourselves. He never looked at me the way he looks at you. How does he look at me? Like you're real. Like you matter. With me, he was always polite, always appropriate, always distant. I told myself that was just his personality. Korean men aren't demonstrative. But then I saw photos of him with you and Noel, and I realized he's perfectly capable of emotion. He just never felt it for me." Amara didn't know what to say. "I'm sorry. Not for existing, but for the pain you've been through. I'm sorry too. My family's lawyers have been vicious to you. I asked them to stop, but they don't listen to me. They want revenge. Do you want revenge?" Mina thought about it. I want my dignity back. I want people to stop treating me like a tragic figure. But taking your baby won't give me that. So no, I don't want revenge. I want to move on. They talked for 2 hours. About their families, their expectations, the weight of being good daughters. About what it meant to love someone versus what it meant to be someone's appropriate choice. When they parted, they weren't friends, but they weren't enemies either. Just two women trying to rebuild their lives after the same man shattered them. How did it go? Jaehyun asked when Amara got home. She's stronger than I gave her credit for. And you hurt her. Really hurt her. I know. I talked to her too. Apologized properly. She deserves better than what I gave her. She does. We both do. Are you saying I haven't given you enough? Amara looked at him seriously. I'm saying you're trying. And that has to be enough for now. What do you think about Mina's character? Drop a heart emoji if you respect how she handled this situation. The custody decision came in late April, 4 months after the lawsuit began. Sujin called them into her office, her face unreadable. I have good news and bad news, she said. The good news is you're keeping primary custody. The judge ruled that Noel is best served staying with her parents. Amara nearly collapsed with relief. Jaehyun grabbed her hand. What's the bad news? He asked. The Kang family gets visitation rights. 4 hours every Sunday, supervised at their estate. And they're appealing the decision, which means this could drag on for another year. They're appealing? Amara felt sick. We have to go through this again. The appeal is unlikely to succeed. The ruling was solid. But yes, you'll have to endure more legal proceedings. I'm sorry. After they left the office, Amara and Jaehyun sat in his car in silence, both processing. They'd won, but it didn't feel like winning. It felt like the war was just entering a new phase. Sunday visits, Amara said quietly. Your mother gets 4 hours with Noel every week. Supervised visits. We'll be there. She can't poison her against us. Can't she? 4 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. That's 200 hours annually for your mother to tell Noel I'm not good enough, I'm not Korean enough, I trapped her father. She's a baby. She won't understand. Not now. But in 5 years. 10. Your mother is patient. She'll wait. Jaehyun started the car but didn't drive. What do you want to do? We can refuse the visits, but that could hurt us in the appeal. No. We follow the order. We take Noel to your family estate every Sunday, and we smile and we're polite, and we don't give them any ammunition. That's going to be torture. Everything about this has been torture. What's a little more? The first Sunday visit was exactly as terrible as Amara imagined. The Kang estate was massive, traditional Korean architecture with modern amenities, the kind of generational wealth that made Jaehyun's penthouse look modest. His mother waited in the main hall, surrounded by staff, every inch the matriarch. She didn't acknowledge Amara at all. She looked at Noel, 4 months old now, reaching for toys and babbling, like and subscribe for more.